Why should Americans care about the ongoing political turmoil and violence in Pakistan right now? Well, it's the fifth biggest country in the world. It's got nuclear weapons. It was one of the front lines in the so-called war on terror, and it's currently considered by our government to be a major non-NATO ally. And yet, ever since Imran Khan, the legendary Pakistani cricketer turned populist politician, was ejected from the Prime Minister's office last year in a very controversial parliamentary vote of no confidence, that country has been in the midst of a historic political and economic crisis. Khan, who remains hugely popular inside of Pakistan, has had more than 100 criminal cases thrown at him, from corruption to terrorism to blasphemy. And there has also been a vicious crackdown against members of his own political party. Khan's violent arrest outside a courthouse in May, later deemed by Pakistan's Supreme Court to be illegal, led to mass protests, to violence and death across the country. According to Human Rights Watch, while some of Khan's supporters did use violence and attacked property and the police, the Pakistani authorities, quote, used excessive force against protesters, restricted access to the internet and to social media, and carried out mass arrests. More than 4,000 people detained, many of them arbitrarily. But what was so stunning about those protests is that they weren't just anti-government. They even challenged the dominance of the once revered, almost untouchable Pakistani army. See, that country of more than 250 million people, which has long aspired to be a functioning democracy, has been ruled, directly or indirectly, by the military for most of its 75 years of independence. Currently, the Pakistani military has banned any mention of Imran Khan's name on air. Prominent journalists have just disappeared. Even Pakistani-American fashion designer Khatija Shah has been detained for taking part in the protests. And Khan himself, who survived an assassination attempt last November, is worried for his own life. The former Prime Minister, who is accused of cozying up to Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, hasn't had much support, though, from Western capitals, and he himself accused the Biden administration of being behind a coup against him, an allegation that the State Department has denied and that Khan has since backed away from. So, what should America be doing here, and what does the future hold for Pakistan and for Imran Khan? Earlier, I spoke to the former Prime Minister of Pakistan and chairman of the political party, the PTI. Imran Khan, thank you for coming on the show. You are the former Prime Minister of Pakistan. Explain to our viewers watching in America tonight what you believe is the state of democracy, of freedom, of human rights in Pakistan tonight. How bad is it?
Well, maybe for some of us who've seen the evolution of our democracy over the last, especially 20 years, because we saw General Musharraf's martial law. And then in that martial law, we saw what was called the lawyers' movement for the independence of judiciary. And during that time, the media asserted its independence. So we were moving towards a democratic system. Two governments came in, stood for 5 years and then left elections, another government took over. So we're moving towards, what we hoped would be genuine democracy, because normally we had a hybrid system. Even when the army was not in power, they really controlled the levers from behind. But what is happening right now is a total dismantling of our democracy. It's not a question of what is happening to my party or to me, or these 170 cases and so on, or whether I'm in jail or these are not one, but two assassination attempts on me. It's what is happening to the future of this country if our democracy is disbanded. Because rule of law, democracy and prosperity go hand in hand. When you do not have rule of law, which is what is happening now, it is might is right. There's an undeclared martial law in Pakistan. Then, there's darkness ahead. We are standing on the edge of darkness.
So what is your message to the American government tonight, to President Joe Biden? Because on the one hand, you have urged the US to speak out in the name of democracy and human rights against what's happening in Pakistan right now. But you've also accused the US of being behind a, quote, foreign conspiracy, a coup against you. You've repeatedly called what happened to you, quote, US-backed regime change.
Well, I mean, the facts about what happened, about me receiving a cipher coded message from our ambassador in Washington. This is 6th March 22, which said that the American official under Secretary of State telling our ambassador in an official meeting that unless you get rid of Imran Khan in a vote of no confidence, there'll be consequences. And then the vote of confidence, no confidence takes place the next day. And within weeks, my government is gone. So I merely stated the facts. And by the way, I put the cipher in front of the cabinet, in front of the National Security Council, and there was an official protest from Pakistan for interfering in our internal affairs. But that's behind me. Look, all I want the US to do is their professed aims of so-called Western values of democracy, rule of law, human rights. They shouldn't worry about what is happening to me. They should worry about 250 million people. The whole democratic structure is being wound up. And we, as I said, we have an undeclared martial law. Surely, this is not what the Western countries should want. I mean, they should just speak out against it.
So obviously the Biden administration denies being involved in your ejection from power. The current Pakistani government is clearly afraid of you, hence the mass arrests, the talk of banning your party, the more than 150 legal cases against you. They've said you're a bigger threat to the country than Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, rather ridiculously. Do you believe that if elections are held on time in October of this year, that your besieged party can still win and that you can still be Prime Minister again? Surely that's a pipe dream now.
Look, since I've been ousted, out of the 37 by-elections held, 30 have been swept by my party, despite the total support of the establishment to these 12-party coalition. So clearly they are scared. This whole thing, which happened to us after 9th May when I was abducted from within the High Court, abduction, and the way that they abducted me as if I was some terrorist. So the reaction to that was used as a way of just clamping down, crack down on my party. We equated to what Hitler did after the 1933 burning of the German parliament. He cracked down on the communists and wiped them out. This is what's happening now. How could a few cases of arson be made a reason for 10,000 of our workers in jail? And every day people are being put in. My entire leadership is in jail. The only way the leadership can come out of jail if they renounce being part of my party. So it's never happened in this country before. Women have never been put in jail. The entire media has been muzzled.
I mean, the military, which is the real power in Pakistan, is obviously out to get you. It was Army Rangers who arrested you outside the courthouse, not police. It's military officials who have reportedly told Pakistani journalists not to mention your name on air. Yet your critics would say that you came to power in 2018, everyone knows this, in alliance with that same military, that you for years had close relations with top generals going all the way back to Hamid Gul, the former head of the Pakistani ISI. So the critics would say it's ironic to see you now criticizing the same army and intelligence chiefs who you were once fine with and who helped put you in power in the first place.
Firstly, just to correct you, I was abducted by the Rangers from within the court. I was actually sitting in the courtroom. So, just to correct you. And the Supreme Court declared it illegal, and so yes. That's why I was bailed out. Look, in Pakistan, Mehdi, the military has directly or indirectly ruled Pakistan for 70 years. 3 times martial law, and then the other times because they're entrenched. And so whoever does politics has to work with them. Now, when I came to power in 2018, it wasn't because the military engineered to get me into power. They didn't oppose me. Big difference. In 2013, before that, they actually helped Nawaz Sharif get into power, and we proved in the rigged elections. In 2018, we asked everyone to open the elections because we came through proper, free and fair elections. In fact, we felt we lost some seats. But the thing is, I worked with the military. Military means the army chief. So I worked pretty well with him. The main problem was, you see, my whole thing is rule of law. I started my movement for justice 27 years ago, wanting to bring the powerful mafias, the political mafias, under the law. This is
Yeah.
where the problem became. He didn't think corruption was that big a thing. He wasn't interested in. And if he had the veto power. So that's where I failed. Although we succeeded economically, we did brilliantly dealing with the pandemic. But I failed in the rule of law, and I think that's where the problems became.
Up next, what about the criticisms of Imran Khan's own time in office? Don't go away.